We keep hearing terms like wealth management, investing, tax saving, financial planning, but I'm not sure how many people actually know what financial planning really is.
You are listening to Two Cents Together, where I engage in curious conversations about varied personal finance topics with my friend. We both are first generation Indian immigrants who came to the US in early 2000s for our graduate studies. I am Amol, a certified financial planner and the founder of Perceptive Wealth Advisors.
And I'm your co host, Devendra. I'm a mechanical engineer with over 15 years of experience in engineering R&D. I often enjoy discussions about personal finance with Amol. We hope that our conversations will be insightful for you too. Let's begin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Two Cents Together. Today, we are going to explore what exactly is financial planning. We keep hearing terms like wealth management, investing, tax saving, financial planning, but I'm not sure how many people actually know what financial planning really is or what goes into planning your personal finances systematically and with an intent. So, without keep guessing about it and without me telling you what it is, let's ask Amol, who is an expert on this topic. So, Amol, tell us what exactly is financial planning.
Observe the same thing that many people, when they think of personal finance journey on their own or reaching out to an advisor, they're always thinking about just investments. But financial planning is much beyond that. It has
Okay.
probably 6 to 8 different areas of personal finance that need careful attention and planning in a coherent way. And that is what comprehensive financial planning is. And these topics are from basic cash flow planning to estate planning. So just to
Okay.
list those, cash flow planning is the analysis of your pay stubs, analyzing your income sources, what are the deductions, as well as writing down your estimated expenses in different lifestyle categories so that you have an idea, at least an close approximation of your annual expenses. So
Okay.
once you know income and expenses, now you know what are your potential savings, right? And then we can think of something what to do with those savings. So that's where the second topic comes, which is goal setting. And you can
Okay.
categorize your goals in short term, mid term, and long term based on different time horizons for that, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Once that is done, the savings need analysis comes up. Basically, you have to calculate how much you need to save every month or every year for each of those goals. Once you have that,
Okay.
then we need to know how to invest those savings to achieve those goals, right? So that's where investment planning and investment management comes in.
Okay.
While doing all that, remember you are employed somewhere or you are a small business owner, you can also have your own retirement plans. And if you are employee with somebody, yes, they provide 401k, 403b plans like that. So are you maximizing those? So you have to assess what employee benefits are available and how to maximize those. Another topic can be tax planning, which is a very important topic. Many people think tax planning means saving taxes every year. That may not be the right way to think of it. It is actually, it may not, because it may not be possible every year. Tax laws keep changing and your life situation also keeps changing. So you may get some opportunities in some years where you can do some transactions or organize your assets in a way where you are going to probably pay little more tax out of pocket today, but save thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars in taxes in future. That's tax planning. So you are trying to optimize your lifetime tax bill, basically.
Okay. So when we look at taxes, we should not just restrict it to this year's
Yeah, you
tax
have to,
filing.
yes,
Yeah.
you have to think from the little bigger context. What can I do today so that I won't pay a lot of taxes in future? Right? That's the
Okay.
brief goal of tax planning. Now, that is one topic. Another topic is insurance planning. That includes life insurance, health insurance, disability insurance, also property insurances like home insurance, car insurance. So analyzing that, assessing if you are overinsured, underinsured, and then plan accordingly. And the last component can be estate planning. So which involves writing wills, powers of attorneys, trusts, whatever is needed, and keep monitoring it because your desires may change. Once you do create those documents, it's not done forever. You just have
Okay.
to, every couple of years or 3 years, you should just review it. Your wishes may not have changed, but they may have. So if they have changed, then you need to amend those documents. So that is
Correct.
estate
Correct.
planning. So all these different individual components of personal finance taken into consideration in sync is comprehensive financial planning or systematic financial planning. And why
Okay.
that is important? Because if you take one decision or action in one personal finance area, it may affect some other area negatively
Mhm.
in future. That may
Mhm.
happen. So just to avoid that, it is always better to again consider it in one holistic way.
Okay. So while you were speaking, you mentioned about having goals. So
Yeah.
it's possible that some of the investors or some of the some of the individual investors who have a good clarity about their goals, maybe short term or
Hmm.
long term. But is it so? Are you suggesting that maybe they should not even approach a financial planning consultation unless they have a clarity about their goals, or is it a process that can evolve after they start getting some advice?
Yeah, it can certainly evolve, and that was not I was not saying all these. I was not listing all these topics for somebody to decide whether they want to go to a financial planner or
Hmm.
not. I was just explaining what topics are entailed in
Hmm.
a financial planning exercise.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you have clarity about your goals, that's extremely beneficial. But generally, these kind of engagements with a planner and a client, the way it works is there will be several meetings in initial phases, and during those discussions there will be casual discussions, and we generally talk about their life, their relatives, their hobbies,
Hmm.
etc. And that itself reveals what are their priorities or values as a family, and they are the input to set goals for short term, long term, mid term, whatever, and they
Okay.
keep evolving. It's an ongoing process. It's not something set in stone and you have to have it before you start the planning exercise.
Okay. Okay. Good point. And I imagine the way we think about all these different areas of financial planning must differ based on what your age is, what your family situation is. Is that right?
Yeah, logically, yes. That is how it is. That doesn't mean that you just focus on some areas when you are 25
Hmm.
and you ignore that and focus on just one area when you are 65. All
Hmm.
these areas that I explained,
Hmm.
they are applicable to everybody. It's just that the depth of it or emphasis on it that may change in different age groups.
Okay.
So the financial planning practice actually defines three broader phases for
Okay.
these type of situations. So accumulation phase, maintenance phase, and decumulation phase. So accumulation phase typically is mid 20s to late 30s or early 40s, and the topics that get more emphasis in it is basically understanding your own financial literacy,
Hmm.
your financial awareness, the goal setting, basically because you are early in your life, and it always helps as a foundation to think about your priorities, values, and goals. Then decisions like buying a house or renting apartment or a house for a few more years, those kind of decisions, they become important in early
Hmm.
phases. Yeah, so those topics get more emphasis in accumulation phase. But once you are in mid 40s, you have kids, they are growing,
Hmm.
they are soon going to go to colleges, right? So planning for kids education savings, assessing your readiness for retirement, because you will
Hmm.
probably at that stage you start thinking, should I retire early or should I work till 65? So all these questions start coming in your mind.
Hmm.
So you need to assess your risk tolerance again, see if your investments are more risky than needed, see if you are prepared for retiring in 10 years or 5 years or 15 years, whatever your goal may be at that point in time. Tax planning like Roth conversion strategies, tax loss harvesting, things like that, they become more important in that
Hmm.
phase. And decumulation phase, you are already retired. So now when to claim social security, how to withdraw from your existing accounts, which account to withdraw from first, all these things, they become more important. So
Okay.
my point is, in different phases, different personal finance areas should take your focus, but that doesn't
Hmm.
mean other areas you should ignore and not plan.
Hmm.
It's just the emphasis is different, that's all.
Correct, correct. I understand. So basically, let me just summarize it for myself and also for our audiences. So financial planning is not just investing. It has many
Hmm.
components to it, and I'll just read through some of my notes here. Cash flow review, then assessing your goals and saving needs for those goals,
Mhm.
tax planning, then comes investment strategy or investment planning. Then you may have or may not have employee benefits. So if it's applicable to you, then that's important. Retirement planning, and then insurance planning like health insurance, life insurance, property insurance, etc. And then the last, which I certainly did not consider, is estate planning, which will
Yeah.
include will, or power of attorneys, trust,
Right.
etc.
Right.
And in broadly, there are like three phases in your life, which are accumulation phase, maybe roughly from your 20s to early 40s, then maintenance or hybrid phase, all the way from mid 40s or early 40s to few years before you retire, and then the spending phase when you actually consume all the money that you have saved. Does that make sense? And did I capture the essence of what you were
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
That is perfect. I would
explaining?
just add one line to it, that now that you understand these different areas, also keep in mind that if you take some action in one area, it may
Hmm.
affect consequences in some different area.
Correct, correct.
That is the reason you should consider it holistically. That's the
Hmm.
only point I would add in your summary. But that's what it is. But now that you have heard these topics and what financial planning is, I'm curious, what was your own perception or observation in your friend circle about how you used to or they used to think about personal finance before you met me or we started discussing these things extensively
Hmm.
over the years?
Yeah, that's it's not easy to imagine because we know each other for quite some time now.
That's true.
But
That's true.
before that, I don't think I had any concept about financial advising or financial or personal wealth management as
We're
such.
not necessarily advising. I'm talking about in general thoughts about personal finance or financial
Hmm.
planning for your own. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think the broadly it used to be looked at based on my experiences with my family members and friends is what's coming in, what's going out, and where to invest so that you get better returns. That's all. And coming from India, the investments would mostly be fixed deposits or buying or considering to buy a property for future.
Hmm.
That's all. And occasionally there would be somebody from your friend circle who has some connections in stock market or who is actual doing brokerage sort of work, and then you would get tips like buy these shares, invest in that, or invest in that property because there's going to be growth in that geographical area of 10 years down the line, etc., etc. So it was mainly I mean, now considering I mean, in hindsight, I think it was a lot of noise. The information was not well informed or
Hmm.
always backed by facts, and there was a lot of emotions involved into that because you would never hear stories about failures in your investments. It's
Hmm.
always like
Hmm.
I was successful in that, or my uncle did this, or my sister is investing in that particular stock, etc.
Yeah.
So I had not imagined that personal finance would or should include all these topics that you just explained.
Okay. Yeah. That's the uh, that's the observation even I have when I talk to people who are not familiar with what I actually do. I mean, talking to strangers, and when they come to know that I am a financial planner or advisor, invariably the next question would be, what would be a good stock to invest?
Okay.
And I have to explain them that that is not what I do. I don't give
Hmm.
stock tips, or any competent financial advisor, they
Hmm.
don't operate like that. It's a field which goes much beyond investments, but unfortunately it is still, I mean, prevalent that people think of their personal finance just in terms of where to invest and how I can beat the market year after year. That's the lens they look at to the personal finance in their life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I have plenty of friends who are almost every day or on a weekly basis reacting
Hmm.
to what's happening in the market
Yeah.
or things which are beyond our control, basically, whether it's market changes or geopolitical changes. And sometimes I feel like, I mean, is it really going to be connected to your long term goals? So, yeah, I mean, now my point of view has changed over the last 2 decades. So, I mean, I now I know what
What
personal
different
finance should
areas
look
are
like.
there?
Yeah.
And I think I mean, mass public should also understand what are the consequences of looking at personal finance only through a narrow lens of investment management.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, just thinking about it casually may not,
Hmm.
you may not realize that it has a very significant impact on your long term financial well being.
Hmm.
But when you are in that narrow lens, there are two behavioral outcomes that are possible.
Okay.
So just imagine a long bull market phase. Like market is like, especially in tech industry, tech stocks, since 2015, markets have been growing, uh, I mean, very handsomely. And many people have earned good returns in it. And when that is happening, it's very natural to get a false sense of security or confidence.
Hmm.
You are leaning towards a strong perception that I understand finance or I understand markets and I have a knack about investing. and earning great returns. And once you go into that zone and markets are still rising, you get into that greed zone. And even though there are signals that market is overvalued, you keep investing in it. You keep buying more and more at elevated market valuations, right? Without any regard of what is happening in other areas of your financial life.
Correct, correct.
And that is risky. On the other extreme of that is whenever markets are crashing, especially similar, I mean, these kind of investors, they tend to panic because they are constantly watching their accounts. Every day they are logging and seeing the balance of their portfolio or individual stocks. By nature, they probably invest in some speculative stocks because of their nature. And they generally tend to be very volatile in when markets are dropping, right? So it creates a fear in
Yeah.
them, and they want to sell then. They
Yeah.
want to get out of market because it is going down. So you essentially sell at the wrong time. You don't give enough time for it to recover. Again, there is no regard what do you actually need, liquidity or money, and you need to withdraw from market. You don't think about that. It's just that because market is dropping, I want to sell. So
So
these
there's a
two
lot of emotion involved in, rather
correct.
than
Correct. So
rational
these
thinking.
two extreme behavioral outcomes, what does it result in? It results in a suboptimal financial performance for your life. But in their mind, they are trying to beat the market. So that's the drawback of looking at personal finance only through one singular lens of investments.
Okay. So now what I wanted to ask you is, what is the drive for people to invest basically?
Yeah, that's a nice question. I will answer you, but again, I would ask you what is your observations. I mean, you told me your observations about personal finance. I told you my observations, and we can agree that many times it is around just investments. But
Yeah,
I also wonder,
definitely.
why do people invest? Do you have any opinions about it, or any discussions like that with your friends?
I mean, not discussions in so explicit question and answer sort of things, but I think I can perhaps point out two or three things which drive people to invest. And one of that, which I think unfortunate, is the FOMO, is fear of missing out. And there's just so much information floating around us, good or bad, fair, unfair, highly prioritized, less prioritized, lies and truth, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But there is so much information that at some point of time, people do get influenced by that, no matter what. And you often hear these tips that, I invested into that, and then now the investment has grown by 60% in what, 4 years, whatever. Or I bought a property in India and now it's on rental, and now I've paid off all my debt, and it's grown in 10 years by 50%, whatever. Nobody actually does the math, or at least explains the math to you. So but that is one drive for people to not to miss out on an opportunity, so that they'll regret it maybe 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line. So that's one drive. I think the second one is literally chasing a number just for the sake of it. I mean, you might be totally content with 5% interest rate on your mortgage, 5% mortgage rate, but then somebody tells you, hey, I have got 4.9, and then you start thinking, should I refinance, or and all of those things, or did I do something wrong? There's a lot of talk about decisions like that, buying a car, buying a home, buying a property, or stuff like that, or second home. But the third, and I think which is more rational, is inherent characteristic of people of being selfish in a good sense. Everybody wants to have a financial freedom, which is what I think should drive investments. Now, what is financial freedom might look different for different people, but I think that is a rational reason for investing. And that is one of the reasons. I do see these, two or three broad reasons behind people investing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also agree. I mean, rather than having a FOMO, if your reason is chasing financial freedom, to some extent, it is understandable. But what is financial freedom? From that angle, if you try to answer why we invest, how I look at it is basically, in a simple, plain English term, the reason we invest is because we want to feel, or we want to know that all the resources will be available to me in future when I need it, basically. So when I
Okay,
need
yeah.
something, I will have all the resources available at that time. As long as I know that, or I feel that that is true, I will feel financially secure. That's how I look at it. So going after one number, like I want to accumulate 2 million or 5 million before I can retire, is a moving goalpost.
Yeah.
You can't really attach your financial freedom to one singular number. I remember an ad also, probably 15, 20 years ago. Some financial institution, there was a TV ad, and their tagline was, "What is your number?" So they're trying to
Okay.
ask viewers or potential customers that, do you know what number you need to retire? And we are here to help you identify that and help manage your investments to get you there so that you can
Okay.
feel financially secure and you can retire.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, yes, number is one important driver of that feeling, but that is not the only driver. There are instead other three components of that feeling.
Okay.
And I believe they are having your financial affairs in order. They are organized very clearly and
Mm-hmm.
aligned as per your goals or priorities or your values as a household. All the accounts and investments should be aligned to that. So that's financial organization. And you should be very keenly aware of it, basically, where your money is and what is the purpose of that account.
Mm-hmm.
Second driver would be having a clarity of thoughts of any financial concerns that you have. You need to think clearly why you feel pressured about some financial thing happening in your life, or why you feel secure about it. Both things. You need to have that clarity of thought around your personal financial journey.
Mm-hmm.
And if these two components are there, like financial organizations and clarity of thoughts, the third component will automatically be there, which is having a confidence in taking financial decisions, major financial decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is always a lot of uncertainty in anybody's life,
Mm.
right? I mean, think of even general decisions. I mean, you feel confident in taking any decision
Mm-hmm.
when you know that situation in and out.
Correct.
And the only way to know that is proper discipline, organization, and clear thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have that, these three components, you will feel financially secure. That will drive that feeling, that will drive that knowledge in you that when the time comes, I will have all the resources I will need.
Correct. Correct.
And
So,
to generate that, you invest. But with that context, you need all these other financial planning topic areas to look after carefully. That will give you that confidence and that
correct.
clarity.
Correct. So the way
So
I understand.
that's why you need to look beyond investments and holistically to all these topics.
So the way I'm understanding this is, investing is just one part of your emotion of feeling financially free. So
Yeah,
it's more about feeling financial security than achieving a deterministic number. Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point, and
correct,
I think once you outline it in such a clear way, then
correct.
it appears pretty obvious, but it's not clear in everyone's head,
So I would just add
including
that
mine.
achieving that deterministic number is a byproduct of
Hmm.
doing all the other things right in the planning areas. It will happen.
Correct. I have one more question before we
Yeah.
conclude today, and that is about our specific audience, which might be most of us might be
Hmm.
in the United States or at
Hmm.
least in Western countries.
Hmm.
So almost all of us would have some ties with our native country, which is most likely India. So we have different immigration statuses. We may or we may not,
Yeah.
but there is always some ties back in India. And so how do these financial planning approach differ, or I mean, how should it approach, how should
Okay.
it apply to people from US and India cross border sort of
Hmm.
situation?
So it doesn't differ. I mean, whatever I have explained so far, it still applies. But for people like us who are immigrants in the US and we still have our roots and some financial assets in India, it just adds one more layer of complexity or planning area. Whatever I described were generic planning topics,
Mhm.
and this is a very specific to US India cross border scenario.
Mhm.
And that includes like simple things like I have some legacy assets, meaning even before I came to US, I may have some accounts in India, right?
Mhm.
Should I bring that money back here? Should I keep it there? What is the foreign exchange risk involved? What type of investments are allowed if my assets are still in India? Legally allowed, being a legally allowed investment is a different thing, but what are the tax consequences also? There may be
Correct.
very
Correct.
burdensome consequences once you become a US resident
Mhm.
from tax perspective. So your legal status and your tax status are two different things,
Mhm.
right? So you may have
Yeah.
heard that substantial presence test, right?
Yeah.
And I mean many people from our audience, they know what that is.
Yeah.
So once you cross that threshold of 183 days, you are a US resident from tax purposes,
Uh-huh.
except if you are on a student visa or something like that. But once that happens, all your global income is reportable and taxable. So you need to
Correct.
be very careful about that. Plus,
Okay.
sometimes some people have to travel to India because their parents are ill and they have to stay there for extended period.
Mhm.
If after becoming an NRI, if you have to go back for some life situation and stay there for longer,
Mhm.
are you becoming a resident Indian again? What are the consequences? So things like that.
Mhm.
All these things need to be looked after, and that adds
Mhm.
that complexity on all those generic financial planning topics.
So there's no
Yeah, I think it
single
will.
advice.
Yeah, no, I mean it's in. We can't discuss that in 2 minutes or 5 minutes,
Yeah,
and we will
correct,
probably
correct.
need a couple of episodes to look into that, and we will
Yes,
have those
yes.
episodes in future.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely looks like there might be more than 5 topics at least just based on last 5 minutes that we should at some point focus on. No, that's very important because I think that's what our most of audience is interested in or will be interested in.
Mhm.
So thanks for outlining that. So before we conclude though, I just want to, summarize or recap what we talked about is
Mhm. Mhm.
so don't just be obsessed with investments, basically.
Yeah.
It is one part of your financial plan, but not the most important plan. Although it's not least important as well, but
Yeah.
that's not what personal finance means. And then there are a lot of other topics you outlined about what includes under financial plan. I don't want to repeat that. Also, there are different phases in your life where you should focus on different priorities as you outlined, and having clarity about your finances, clear organized financial affairs is very important
Hmm.
in order for you to have a feeling of financially secured, if I
Yes,
understood that correctly.
that is correct. That is
Yeah,
correct.
now that's
Yes.
that's very important, and it's, I think, very healthy discussion that we had today. Is there anything else you want to add before we conclude today?
No, I mean you summarized it perfectly, and we just wanted to convey what financial planning is anyway. I mean
Mhm.
what it all entails, and I think we did it. Going into detail in those individual topics, like you said, we will probably have 5 6 different episodes, one
Yeah.
topic per episode in future, and we will take it from there basically.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have some pointers from this conversation and we'll continue in future episodes to focus on each of those subtopics. Thanks for your time, Amol. And
Yeah,
everybody, thank you for your time. And let's meet again next time.
yeah. Thank you, Devendra. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Two Cents Together. If today's episode was helpful, subscribe or follow us on your preferred podcast app or on YouTube. Leave a quick review or comment so more people can discover the show. Perceptive Wealth Advisors provides comprehensive financial planning for first-generation Indian immigrants and mid-career professionals. To learn more, visit us at www.perceptivewealth.com using the link in the show notes or description. See you in the next episode.